Jesus' last words to the disciples. That's what you just heard. How many people here live with a profound sense of peace all the time? No hands up? Most of us don't. But that was what Jesus promised his followers. He promised them peace. And the gospel lesson suggests that peace is the sign and seal of a divine presence and God's abiding gift. But we all keep on looking for it. We're looking for peace. Perhaps that's what brings us together in places like this every week. We search for contentment. We search for something that will help us to sleep better at night, for something that will get us through the next week. We seek release from worry, and we seek release from danger. Some of the themes that I actually spoke of in the last few weeks. And in our time, many of us have yearned for something to help us cope with squirming children. We yearn for something to help us cope with our inattentive or self-consumed partners in life. We have yearned for something to cope with soaked fields for those that were farmers that could not plow or disc. Or we have yearned for something to help us cope with an irritated customer if we've been in retail. Or we have yearned for something that would help us understand underappreciative bosses in whatever employment you might have had. In all of our adult lives, I would bet that we have looked for peace, as we define it, as the absence of something. Peace is always something missing. The noise, the confusion, the violence, the anger. Get rid of it and we have peace. That's our understanding. An absence from conflict, freedom from worry, a sense of ease and comfort. Yesterday, I was sitting in the living room of my elder son's home as his daughter was celebrating her 3rd birthday at a party in which we were all there. My 3-year-old and my 30-year-old and all of the kids in between and the neighbor kids and that big kid back there. Teenagers, people in their 20s, people in their 30s, and children down to the age of 3. Do you think it was quiet? No, not on any level. There was this one big kid running around playing with all the other kids, and they all told me to be quiet. What was that all about? But at one point in time, I looked over at my son, and I have a son who is very quiet. He's got a sense of humor, but he's very quiet. And he lives a pretty structured, ordinary, ordered life. He works in a warehouse at night, works with a few people, sleeps mostly during the day because of his shifts. He has 2 small children, but somehow he always manages to keep this equilibrium about him. And I looked over, and he was sitting in front of a TV set watching a football game in the midst of all this stuff going on. It wasn't that he was ignoring everybody, because he was still kibitzing and playing and talking and, discussing things with people, but he had this, bubble around him. And I thought, okay, what's that all about? And I realized that he was at peace. In that moment, he was at peace. There was all kinds of noise and confusion and stuff that, other people were saying, be quiet, don't do that. People were quiet in that moment. He was quiet. You were asleep. And I looked over and I realized there was these 2 individuals sitting at either end of this couch. One was watching TV, one was asleep. Lori was the person asleep. And all this other noise going on. And I'm one of these people that when I preach, I start weeks ago with a theme, and I kind of start playing with it and watch it and observe it and work on it and write some notes and throw the notes away and work. And so I'm always kind of working in the back of my mind, and all of a sudden it hit me. Peace. I'm going to talk about peace tomorrow, and these people have peace. And peace isn't the absence of something. In the midst of the noise, in the midst of the confusion, And I won't say violence, although there were some Nerf guns and other things going off. There was two people who had an absolute sense of in the right place, at the right moment. No matter what's going on around them, there was something going on inside that allowed them to be peaceful. And it hit me. There was a trend in the Christian church that we borrowed from our Hebrew brothers and sisters a few years ago, that when we wanted to talk about peace, we used the term shalom. Do you remember that? Most of us never got the word. Hey, cute, it's like saying, a while back we tried to have that Canadian version of cheers, we called it chimo. Remember that? We're always trying to find some trendy word to use as a fancy greeting, and so we were using shalom all over the place. But most of us said shalom thinking it just means peace. But it doesn't. It never did. Peace was only like that much of what it meant. It means fullness. It means actually roundness. It means having a roundness to your life. We pray for peace. Every Sunday for the last how many hundreds of years, Christians have gathered in their sanctuaries and prayed for peace. And when we pray for peace, we've always meant stop the war, stop the pain, stop the hunger. And war goes on, and pain continues, and hunger persists. And we keep praying for them to stop when we pray for peace. But peace does not mean any of those things ending, sadly enough. Other things mean for them to end. It means Christian generosity and compassion